Okay, so a welcome from me as well, and thank you for taking some time out wherever you are in the world to join this presentation. I hope it will be useful. Please, as Rachel says, just send in your questions if I don't specifically answer the question that you have. We'll get started in a minute, but I just wanted to acknowledge really that creative careers have had a bit of a bad reputation historically. Some think of penniless artists dying over their paint palette in a drafty old studio. What I hope is, by the end of this presentation, you'll see that that's not the case anymore, that there are many varied opportunities. There are lots of creative careers that students can follow for graduates, and how a degree at the Arts University can help prepare you for that. There's exciting times ahead. I know it's unpredictable, and as the 21st century unfolds, jobs are adapting and changing. So we'll take a look at the buoyant creative careers market and how that is changing. We'll also look at the UK creative economy and specialist universities like AUB and how they adapt and change to meet the demand for those careers that there are developing in our economies. And hopefully you will acknowledge some of the ones that are happening in your country. Maybe things are changing. Maybe you know about things that are happening where you are, and you can adapt and change and train for what's ahead. Right, let's make a start. We're going to be talking about, as I say, the creative economy, the Arts University Bournemouth employability, and how we prepare you for the careers. We're also going to be looking at examples and case studies of students who have gone on to have successful careers and the sorts of stories and things that they're doing now. Now, the UK is well known for the quality of its education. That goes without saying. And AUB, Arts University Bournemouth, believe that this is achieved with this list, if you look here, this list of outstanding facilities, extensive links with industry, really, really important, not just local, but international as well. We offer highly practical subjects which allow you to specialise in a particular area. So as Rachel was just saying, if there's a particular subject area you're interested in and you don't see it in this presentation, just let us know, fire in a question, and we'll see if we can answer it. What we do though is we encourage independent ways of thinking, curiosity, remember these words, hence curiosity, and diversity. We have a very international and multicultural environment. Don't forget that students in the UK come from all over the UK. So they're not just local students from the town of Bournemouth or even Dorset. You'll find them from up north, from the Midlands, and even further south in the UK. So here's some data to back it up. I know this doesn't look very exciting, unless of course you're a potential graphics student, in which case it is exciting. So to the left, you can see there are about 3.2 million jobs in the creative economy at this time, 2018. 1 in 11 UK jobs was part of the creative industries. And there's a high, on the right-hand side there, there's a high concentration of creative jobs down in the south. Anybody who knows what the UK looks like, down there in the blue, dark blue bit at the bottom, the 309, that's where we are. And the reason for this is that creative industries, creative jobs can often be online, so they can often be reliant on computers, a bit like we are now doing this webinar. So people wanting to move out of the big cities like London, Manchester, and move towards the south for a better quality of life, usually better weather. We've got lovely blue sky today. I don't know what the weather's like with you. But the south can offer that better quality of life, but also stay connected with the big cities. Some more figures here. This slide shows increases in value since 2016. So a steep rise in the value of creative jobs and the economy. The middle diagram shows areas of jobs, in particular architecture, but that big one, that 40,000 plus one, is in IT, so software and games. So maybe that's something that you're thinking about going into. But there's other ones like design and fashion, and film and TV. On the right-hand side, hidden by my little box, but on the right-hand side there's a bar chart showing that the value that the industry has added in comparison to other jobs. So you can see the creative industries is much higher than the UK average in all the other industries. And just to show you, it's not just the UK that enjoys these benefits. The creative industries globally are increasing and represent £32.7 billion worth of exports a year. And like I said before, maybe you've noticed in your country, maybe creative industries are creeping up. They're slowly coming up to be more respected, and there are more jobs available, and the value of the industry is going up. Right, enough of the facts and figures. This last bit. Now, like I said at the beginning, creative careers have historically had a bit of a bad reputation, but that has been changing quite dramatically in the last few years. And you can see here that a recent government report suggested that jobs in creative industries, which are valued, again, there's some key words here, for their originality and innovation, are 50% less likely to be automated. So somebody in a creative career is 50% less likely to be replaced by a robot, by an automated process. So it's really good news for the creative industries and for the future. So anyone thinking about this as an area of study, there's proof that this is going to be good. Plus the fact you can have a career doing something that you really love. So that's another big advantage. Not just there's going to be a great job, but you really love it. So here's a few examples of the sorts of careers that our Arts University graduates go on to do. Salaries are varied, you can see here. They range from sort of 42 to 85,000 for a fashion graduate. Architecture is slightly higher. Illustrators, 40,000 plus, but all pretty reasonable salaries, I think you'll agree. A lot of this depends on you creating your own networks. Creative industries rely a lot on teamwork and collaboration, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. But this is something that AUB are very good at. So some key words coming out here about how to start creating that network, even if you haven't already. Maybe you've got some creative friends, perhaps you belong to a band, you know, anything that basically helps you to work with other people and work in teams. Collaboration, as I mentioned, is really important, and AUB put a lot of emphasis on this. Building professional networks, not just for now, but for the future. And whilst you're studying, you will find that you become not only skilled creatively, but you also build those networks in your classroom, around campus, and also with visiting industry professionals. So we have people coming in, doing talks, perhaps alumni who have left and come back to talk about their careers and what they've done and how they've got there. So basically what we try to do is mimic the world of work, so that once you get out into work, it comes quite naturally, that you learn, you know how to work with teams, you know how to work on project, you work on deadlines, and sort of live projects and placements are part of that as well. So industry comes to campus. You will see how they work, where they work, what you need to do, and there'll be lots of opportunities for that. All students will experience one or the other, either a live project or a placement opportunity. Now these can include local events, international events, Fine art recently went to the Venice Biennale and were part of the UK representation of art in the UK. Another example, architecture students were working on a project for a remote village in China. So lots of examples like that exist. And if you have a look on the website, you will find them. But those kinds of things are constantly happening at the Arts University. There's also, of course, at the end of all the courses, there's the graduate shows, which we have on campus. So the campus sort of comes alive with work from all students, and on every course, they all have the opportunity to show their work. But also a number of courses go nationally. So they will go to London, for example, something like Graduate Fashion Week or New Blades, to name but two. So lots of opportunity to get yourself out there, to build your confidence, and to make sure that by the time you graduate, you know how to approach the world of work. So how do we do that in a bit more detail? We make sure that you really understand the product or service that's you're proposing and what it takes to be, here's those words again, original and innovative. Now, how we do that is by having dedicated studio spaces. So whether you're studying textiles or fashion or model making or makeup or architecture, you will have your own purpose-built studios on campus. It's all on one campus. So what then happens is that our students mix and collaborate together pieces of work. So you will often find fashion students working with photography students, film students working with makeup students or acting students, architecture students perhaps working with fashion students. So there's a lot of collaboration between courses, and that's encouraged by the teachers and by the lecturers who come in. Work experience is really important, and students who want to can also study abroad. There are those opportunities. There's a lot of student presentations and critiques where you learn from each other, but you also build your confidence in presenting your creative ideas. As you would expect, there's lots of visits to exhibitions, public exhibitions and shows, not just locally, but also in London. So lots of opportunity to see and be influenced by other artists and other creative people. So preparing for success. What you need to understand is that creative students work really hard and long hours. Again, that's another sort of reputation that we have, that creative people sit around drawing, that's what we do. We work really hard and we do work really long hours because we want what we produce to be innovative, to be original, and to be amazing, and to feel proud of what we've done. What these skills do is build in our students these skills that you see here. So they demonstrate that practical creative talent. Showing passion is really important. Independence, discipline, resilience is important, particularly in creative arts, because not everybody is going to like the ideas that you put forward. So you have to be able to defend those ideas and know that what you're proposing is good and that you believe in it. We use project-based ideas, and a deadline is very important. And we also keep up to date, of course, with industry developments and equipment, the latest software, and things that students need to know in order to enter the industry ready to work, ready to go. So, employability. The Arts University, I'm proud to say, are UK's #1 specialist university for employability, which is pretty impressive. We have an average of 97% employability or further study for our graduates. So 97% of our students go on to get a career within 6 months, or perhaps go on to study a master's, maybe with us or maybe with another university. As I said at the beginning, there's huge job variety within the creative sector. And even on this slide, you can see on the right there, you've got acting students at the top, perhaps a graphic design student in the middle, and then maybe an animation or illustration student at the bottom. So very diverse areas of specialism. But here's a list of the sorts of jobs that students go on to do. And this is just from acting. So these are jobs that our acting students go on to get within 6 months of them leaving. You can see here there's games managers, front of house attendants, theatre facilitators, self-employed, a great variety, even within one discipline of the university. Here's some more: illustration and fine art. So these students have gone on to be freelancers, creative designers, graphic designers, technicians, visual stylists. And like I said at the beginning, these jobs are being created as a result of this digital economy that is being driven quite quickly into the future. And even these lists here will become old, you know, perhaps by next year there'll be new job titles, new roles that students are going on to achieve. Here's some for photography and commercial photography. There's two types of photography at the Arts University. Commercial photography, you can see probably the top images, the makeup image on the right, and perhaps the fashion image on the left. The gold dripping hand and perhaps the one at the bottom are more likely to be a fine art approach to the area of photography. So quite different approaches, again, even within one subject of photography. And lots of diverse career opportunities you can see listed there on the left. A few more here: interior architecture and design. So any budding architects or interior architecture, maybe what you like to look at is the space within architecture, or perhaps it's the space the building takes up, which is much more about architecture. So again, the roles here are quite diverse. You can see there's crossover with things. Perhaps architects will go on to be junior designers and vice versa. Just one more here: model making is particularly interesting because the model making course is a very specialist area. You can see examples of the work here on the right hand side, and this is all work that students have produced as part of their course. The top middle is probably an architectural model. The work on the left may be for a museum. The one in the middle might be for a project to do with science or space. It's very diverse, even within that discipline. This is one of our graduates, Mia Warburton, who graduated, I think 2 years ago, from costume performance design. She is a wardrobe technician traveling around the world with Cirque du Soleil. So a magnificent achievement, and one that she's incredibly proud of. She tours all over the USA now as another performer, and was in fact, you can see at the bottom there, the first female wardrobe technician to become both a performing artist and technician. So an amazing achievement for somebody who graduated very recently. Pascal here, who was a fine art BA Honours graduate, is a freelance artistic director. She makes large-scale pieces for music festivals, posters and flyers, and she also does some freelance teaching in schools. So going back to that idea of flexibility and talent and being able to work across different areas and perhaps in different roles. Andrew here is living the dream as a Disney animator. He's worked, as you can see there on the left, on films such as Toy Story, Cars, The Good Dinosaur, and even Finding Dory. So living the dream, lots of hard work, but he found his studies with us really fun and interesting. And that idea of being surrounded by like-minded people. Andy Ryan here, graduated from photography a few years ago and probably never dreamt then that he would one day be commissioned as a freelancer to photograph Team GB at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. So showing that energy and diversity to take on a project is something that we instill in all our students. And here's one more. Dominique graduated from BA Honours Acting and has since gone on to work in very well-known shows. You can see there the Lion King, which many of you might have seen. Whether she was in that production or not, I don't know. But certainly one that we are very proud of, and I'm sure she is incredibly proud to be a part of. Here's another one from Modelmaking, just to show you how strange life can be and where you may end up. This student, Alex, created these fruit-shaped shoe deodorizers called Boot Bananas. Maybe you've seen them. Maybe you've seen them on a product shelf somewhere. So, what do you need to do in order to achieve all those sorts of amazing careers that I've just been talking about? You probably have, you may be doing some art at school that you're pleased with, or perhaps outside school. Some students that we get are doing extracurricular art, so outside of school, and that's fine. What you do need to start doing though is putting your work together in a portfolio. So whatever course you apply for in creative arts, you will need a portfolio, which is basically just another way of saying a collection of artworks. What the Arts University like to see is a variety of artworks. So maybe you've done some photography, maybe you've done some drawing, maybe some sewing, or maybe some 3D, maybe you've done some sculpture with wire or clay. But that's what we want to see. We want to see all the sorts of things that you've done. So don't throw anything away at this stage. If you're interested in studying arts, keep everything that you have, keep a record of how you did it, what the process was that you went through to get to that stage, to get that work finished. Stay curious. These are important words. Stay curious, and creative people are always looking at ways to make things better or different. Be self-motivated. So if your school isn't doing the sort of art that you want to do, then do it outside of school. Often when we see that students have gone the extra mile, they've done additional projects outside of school, that makes you stand out. It means that we can see that you're full of passion for what you want to do. If you can, get some work experience. Perhaps one of your family is part of a creative industry, perhaps they work in a theatre, perhaps they're an artist. See if you can go and talk to them, go and find out what they do, how they got to where they are. You will often find that artists and creative people love to talk to people about their journey, what they've done, and share how they've got there. Record things, get used to recording things. If you have a sketchbook, that's amazing. But even if you don't, just get a notebook, anything that you can write ideas down, perhaps your thoughts, your dreams maybe, worries, experiences, as much as you can and wherever you can. Don't worry if it's not a beautiful sketchbook, it doesn't have to be. The other thing to do is be inspired by other artists and creatives. But as well as looking at those other artists and creatives, try and develop your own voice, your own way of looking at things as much as possible, if you can. On the other hand, if computers are your thing, perhaps you use a tablet to draw, perhaps you're a Photoshop whiz, that's fine as well. If that's what you want to do and if that's what you're exploring, then start collecting those into a file so you can put them together and present them as a portfolio. Or maybe create a website or a blog so that you can share that with us when the time comes. So that's about it, really. There's lots of really useful information available about careers on this website, the www.prospects.ac.uk. You can read about other graduates and other students who've gone on to have great careers. You can look at some of the work that they do, and you can also look at some of the portfolio requirements. So the sorts of things that students need in order to gain a place at a creative university. And the final slide here is the contact details should you wish to get in touch with us. You can always just put in Arts University Bournemouth and we will pop up. But there's an email there for the international team that I am part of, and we will always get back to you as quickly as we can. And that's it. That's the end of the presentation. So hopefully I've managed to answer some of those questions, but if you have any now that you would like to share or any specific examples, I'm happy to have a go at answering them.
Great, thank you very much, Sarah. So I'll read out some of the questions that we've had. So the first question, and you have already largely touched on this, is from Blance, and she's saying, or he's saying, I'm a graduate at Hanoi Fine Arts and Industrial University.
Yep.
Graphic design degree, planning to study abroad next year for an undergraduate or a master's degree. Very thankful for the information. Wanting information about how to best make the portfolio. What they know at the moment is that they should put all their art on their own website. Now, is that what you would therefore best advise doing? Is the best medium for collecting your portfolio pieces?
Yeah, I think, as I said, it's entirely up to the student and how best they work. If you are applying internationally, we don't accept, at the moment, we're not accepting any paper-based portfolios. So yes, either a blog or a website. There's websites like Flickr that you can load your work up onto. And you should also load up a lot of the development work. So not just the final pieces, also put some context behind it so that we can see where the work came from and how it developed. So yeah, hope that answers that one.
No, great. And question number 2, do you have any information about scholarships at the university?
All the information about scholarships would be on the website. There are scholarships for the master's programs. There are lots of bursaries and payment incentives that you can look at. But the best thing to do is probably to email us, because it does change quite often. So email us and ask us what's available for your particular program at that time.
Okay, great, thank you. Somebody's messaged saying on the 11th of May, they're going to be sitting their IELTS exam, but they're worried that by the time they get their results, it might be too late to apply.
Okay, it won't be. I mean, gosh, well done, you're sitting your IELTS, because I know a lot of the IELTS centres are closed, but that's great that you're sitting it. 2 things. First of all, we are at the moment, with the current circumstances, accepting other forms of language qualification. So again, depending on the country, it's best to just contact us and we can let you know what we are accepting. The second thing is, do not worry about the date. All the dates have been extended, so your application, you're safe. 11th of May is actually early, so don't worry about that at all. You've still got plenty of time to get your application in, but if you can, alongside that, be looking at developing your portfolio, as we've been talking about, so that you're working on that at the same time.
Great, thank you. Another message, this person is interested in the historical costume course.
Yes.
Their background has been in business. They've been working in business for 3 years and they're looking to make a career change. Right. Will they be able to make an application?
Yes, I mean, that's fantastic. We get a lot of students who are making career changes. It's not unusual. And actually, costume is one of those courses that does attract career change professionals. So absolutely. The only thing I suppose that you do need to work on is that portfolio again. So my advice would be, if you can, if you have any connections with the theatre, or if you don't, try and make some. Try and find out what sorts of jobs there are. I mean, do you want to work behind the stage? Do you want to work on costumes? Is it the theatre design or the stage design that interests you? Maybe start to think about what part of theatre design interests you. But if it's the costume, then you probably need to start doing some drawings, some design, maybe look at some historical costumes from your own country, and start again developing that portfolio. Do some sewing. Gosh, that's really important. Sewing, you need to at least be able to sew a basic dress, so maybe practice the sewing skills as well.
And create a portfolio, that's great. We've had a few other questions in a similar vein. For example, somebody saying, I'm a musician, but I would actually like to study graphic design. Can I apply? So I assume the answer is the same. They just have to work on a portfolio.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great.
And if they go on the website, the Arts University website, if they go onto each course, there are portfolio guidelines. It's a few clicks. You do have to click through a few times, but persevere and you will find portfolio guidelines, and that will tell you what you need to include in that portfolio for that course, for example, graphics.
Okay, great. We've had a question now. I'm not 100% sure what was meant by this. Somebody's asked the difference between animating and modifying videos. I don't know if that's something that was mentioned in the presentation.
No, it's interesting though, because this is something that's coming up quite often. I was talking to a student yesterday about this. I mean, animating anything is a very specialist subject. I mean, to create, whether it's 2D or 3D animation characters involves drawing and, creating those characters and expressions and everything else. Whereas editing a video just means that which is also a skill and part of the animation process, but I'm not sure video editing is something that is a standalone subject at the Arts University. It would be part of what you would do in an animation course or a film course. But maybe you're thinking more about game design and maybe more game design. There's of course VFX as well, which we do, and that's about editing actually, and video and special effects. So maybe look at the VFX and see if that's the sort of thing that you mean.
Okay, great. We also had a couple of questions about artificial intelligence and data science. Now, I think that was a result of the start of the presentation. People are asking if there are any courses that are more related to AI data at the university.
Believe it or not, fashion have what's called a lecture system, which is a French system. And part of that package is an AI software package which creates three-dimensional figures on screen, which does not require the use of fabrics or anything else. So you build up the outfit on the screen using AI. So yes, we do have that. That's the one I can say with some confidence. I probably can't talk with much confidence about the VFX side of things. But of course, there's architecture. I mean, architecture uses, I can't remember the software, but might make sense to somebody, Rhino, and another one I can't remember. And that also is about producing, you know, scaled three-dimensional models. So depends on the AI you're talking about, but those are just two examples of the way in which creative education at Arts University incorporates, you know, top of the range software.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's all the questions that we had come in. I've posted in the chat box, just if anybody's interested in making an application, then they can log into our website and fill in our form to get more details and find out more information. Okay. Also, of course, you can email international@aub@ac.uk for more information through that way as well. And there's also the website www.aub.ac.uk if you need information there.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's it for today then. I think we're going to wrap up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for everybody for attending and taking out some time from your day. I hope you have nice days, evenings, whatever it is you're going to be doing next. And maybe hope to see some of you at some time at the Arts University. You're more than welcome.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a lovely evening. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.